Welcome to the Football Show on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. Here's what's coming up in today's show. Michael Beale hints Hagi and Kamara are close to the Ibrox exit door.
I don't want to put any predictions on it. We're close to a couple maybe going out the way.
Celtic are dealt a double injury blow with Carter-Vickers and Nawrocki ruled out for 2 months. Frankie McAvoy says Hearts know exactly what to do to beat PAOK next week.
We know what we've got to do now. We need to go there and win the game.
Lee Johnson insists playing in Europe is worth it despite Aston Villa hammering.
It's absolutely worth it. I promise you it's worth it because this is about building the club out.
Yeah, European football to talk about, and then we'll look at the domestic fixtures as well, north and south of the border, in the company of Alan Ruff, Tam McManus and Lee McCulloch. Delighted to have the guys here with us. Let's look to Europe first of all, because there was quite a few of our clubs in action. Lee, were you happy with 2-2?
I think when you watch the game you've got to be, especially the manner the game started, the way PSV kept the ball, although they didn't really threaten the goal. Then Rangers score with a sort of runaway goal and lifts the stadium, lifts the fans. And I thought PSV went a little bit and they weren't as good as what they probably have been this season. But I think overall, to each, Rangers have got something to play for going into the second leg. And if they get an early goal there, who's to say the stadium won't turn against the home team?
Yeah, I'm sure people, Ruffy, will use the evidence of last year, but it's a totally different Rangers team, and we've yet to see if they have the same qualities as that team.
Yeah, I think it was evident the other night there that at home Rangers have improved. I thought it was a great game to watch. You know, both teams not sitting in, both teams going for it. I thought they were particularly lucky with the second goal. Hit off the boy's back of his shoulder. I don't think he knew anything about it, but he'll take it. But you're right, I saw enough in them to think at home they're going to be a different kettle of fish. You know, Rangers will have to play something that we've not seen this year to go over there and actually win the game.
Yeah, there were patches for me, Tam, where I thought Rangers played some really good football. I mean, the overall evidence is quite simply PSV technically looked as if they had technically better players.
I think we expected that, but I think PSV, they're a possession-based team. I think Rangers, you know, when they put PSV under pressure, they looked as if they were going to score. I think that PSV in the middle of the park looked better than Rangers. I think that Veerman, Sangari, they were excellent in the middle of the pitch. They knocked the ball about well, but as Lee said, they didn't create too many clear-cut chances. Rangers scored 2 fantastic goals. I mean, the big boy team was having a nightmare in the first half. I'm sure there was people deleting messages all over the place when he stuck that one in the top corner. It's one of the ones, he's always get him off and then bang, top corner. And then the second goal was a fantastic goal, great ball for Dessers, and then Matondo, who I thought was excellent against Morton. I watched the Morton game and I was surprised he wasn't in the European squad. They've added him. I think they dropped Hagi out and put him in, which was inspired. When you look at it now, we're getting that goal. So I was pretty impressed with Rangers in the second half, and I think they're capable of going over, but I think PSV are a different kettle of fish at home. I think if PSV get the first goal, get that crowd up, then I think it's going to be really tough for Rangers. So I think Rangers' only chance of getting through is to score first.
Yeah, I mean, overall, listen, I'd take that all day long. You've been ranked rotten for 40 odd minutes, and then
many times that happens.
One out of the roof of the net.
That's what happens. That's what happens, and I think when you get that crowd with you, and the same at Celtic Park, when you score the home team and you get the crowd with you, the atmosphere looked electric that night. And even the best players in the world, which PSV aren't, but I think it's hard it's a difficult place to play, like we were saying last week.
Yeah.
So if Rangers go there and get the first goal, who knows?
Yeah, I never ever discount your assessment of things like this, because
you did last week.
No, I did. No, but I'm sticking by that. By the way, I still think Rangers are going, but I never dismiss what you're saying from a player's perspective. I'll tell you why. Because I'm looking at their team, and Tam's highlighted the midfield. The boy Bakayoko for me looks a real player on his left peg. He's a dangerous young player for them. Now they've got technically better players, but I remember the number 10. I think his name was Diego, who played for Werder Bremen. Mm-hmm. He was a Brazilian boy. He was the number 10. He was a fantastic player. They had technically better players than you guys, but you managed to play as a unit and got the job done. So as Ruffy says, it might need to score first, but we're waiting to see if they've got the same qualities that your side had.
I think you're spot on. I think when you're playing against better players, better technical players, sometimes you just sit in and let them have the ball. We spoke about this last week about the European run we went to. Remember you were saying, like, or everybody was saying about the anti-football thing. There's no point sometimes going toe-to-toe with teams because you'll just get picked off.
Yeah.
So possession doesn't score you goals, really, if in the right areas. So if we're sitting deep, and then you've got pace. Rangers will get pace on this side to go and hit them in the counter-attack as well. So just depends what the game plan's going to be. They're a threat for set plays as well, which is massive in modern day football. So I'm sort of with Ruffy as well. The first goal is going to be pivotal in this game.
See that line that you just said there? Can you regurgitate that and say the exact same thing when we come to talking about Hibs? How you need to stay compact and be a
That was a different game.
I know, but you need to be a defensive unit. Hang fire with that line in a minute. I don't know about you, but I've never, Tam, met an introvert or a shy person who was born in the Netherlands. And the reason I say that is Willy van der Kerkhoff says if PSV don't deserve to win the Champions League if they can't beat a team like Rangers. Now, come on,
that's been pinned up in the wall.
His column in the Netherlands Daily Record must be getting battered right, left, and centre.
The Dutch damn McManus. no, listen. That's the Dutch. They're an arrogant nation. We've seen it so many times. You know. Infighting, you know, the egos that they've got, and I fully, you know, PSV fully expect to beat Rangers. They did last season as well, but if Rangers put them out 2 years in a row, then I think he's going to eat his words. But I still fancy PSV. I seen enough from PSV. I thought they were poor at the back. I thought the centre half who went off injured was really poor. Took chances, so I can see Rangers scoring over there. But I thought PSV were really good going forward. They just didn't quite click on the night. But I think at home, I think they're going to put Rangers under enormous pressure, and the two Rangers centre-halves will need to play as well as they did the other night. I thought the two of them were excellent, covering a lot for the two full-backs who went wandering again. But I thought Suter and Golson were superb, and they're going to have to play that way again over there.
Yeah, I don't see why players come out and say things like that, like if they can't beat a team like Rangers, they don't deserve to win. It's like trash talk.
Mm-hmm. Well, but the difference is though that's the mentality of Dutch players. I genuinely believe. I mean, we've had a few in Ruffy and I. We've had a few in the show over the years who are absolutely magnificent. It just they deliver a line, and we go. You know, calm down, fathead. You know, but that was what they were like. They were really, really confident.
I don't want to hate going back away in the olden days, but he did it as well when Holland played Scotland in the World Cup. He had a big bit in the paper over there, Van der Kerkhoff. When we played them in the last game, when we beat them 3-2, and he slaughtered us before the game as well. Just the exact same thing. Yeah. We can't beat a team like this. And we beat them 3-2, so it can happen. I'll
need to get him in a 1-to-1. It was absolutely magnificent. He just slaughters everybody. The one thing about it as well is, and that this backs up what we're talking about, is De Jong apparently kicked one of the doors off its hinges in a Terry Butcher Old Firm style, really unhappy that Rangers were suddenly going in at the break in the lead.
It happens, doesn't it? Yeah. The emotion, frustration gets on top of you, but it just shows that they're obviously thinking they're maybe a little bit better than what they are. But this for me would be going straight up, as Tam says, straight up in the dressing room. The manager should be talking about this. This is what they think about you guys. If you pull this out the bag, make them eat their words. And I don't know why you would give your opposition fuel. I still don't get it. But it's no boxing we're in where you saw the trash talking. It's football, and you've got to have a wee bit of respect.
Yeah. Now, with that in mind, I'm giving you the word from inside the Villa camp. They were surprised at Hibs' team selection. They thought, oh, that's a wee bit attack-minded when you're playing Aston Villa. And they were surprised to the element where they thought to themselves, game on. And Aston Villa did exactly what we thought they would all do, which is give Hibs an absolute doing. It was a major surprise to me. I thought, going back to what Lee said about Werder Bremen, you're playing Aston Villa, they can outspend you, they've got quality players, sit in and keep the game tight.
I would agree with that, but Hibs have not got the players to do that, Peter. They've not got the squad to do that. They've got too many attacking players. I think if they sat in and parked the bus, they maybe get beat 3 or 4. I just think Aston Villa, no matter what Hibs done, Aston Villa are miles. It's like a different planet for Hibs. You know, they're paying, 175 grand a week, 200 grand a week. Hibs are paying 2 and 3. It's a different stratosphere, and I thought Hibs will be disappointed with the goals they lost. I think a couple of them were just balls into the box, decent deliveries, and Big Boy Watkins scored, but Aston Villa will win that for me. I think they played I looked at Aston Villa's team now and they're taking it serious. They were absolute full strength. They wanted to get this done and dusted, and then maybe play the B team with under 15s in the second leg, hopefully. But listen, Hibs. I've been critical of Lee Johnson on this show, but I just don't. I just think you put that at the back of your mind and go into Livingston. I think that it was a nightmare draw for Hibs. They were always going to get a tanking, and that's what happened. But they'll make a few quid out the tie, and that's the only thing I could say positive, really. Yeah.
You think he's one game away from the sack?
No, but I think they're playing Livingston. I think they're playing Livingston.
What do you think that?
No. He's lost his first 2 games. They're sitting at the bottom of the league. They're playing Livingston. They need to win.
How does Livingston beat them?
You've just said that. You've said in the paper he's going to get the sack.
No, he's not going to get the sack.
No,
I don't think it's. I think once these games are out the road, he's got Aberdeen and Kilmarnock away after this.
Do you not feel sorry for him a wee bit with the games that he's had?
I do. I think it's very difficult. You played in Europe a lot more than me, but I played in Europe a few times and I can't remember winning coming back on a Sunday. I thought it was difficult travelling away, wherever it was, Latvia, Lithuania, wherever it was, and you were coming back. You were heavy legged and tired, and the other team was fresh and right at you. So I think the time to judge them possibly after the Villa game, but a lot of Hibs fans are not having them anyway. So Livingston, they couldn't have picked a worse game. I think at home, I think Davy Martindale will be firing balls in all day on top of the goalkeeper and on top of the centre halves, because Hibs just keep losing goals for set pieces, crosses, and the big boy Nubly, I think they'll just fire balls up to him, and if Hibs can't deal with it, they're not going to win the game.
Well, I'm sorry, I disagree with him, Ruffy, on the point that quite simply, it's not about they've had a tough start. I think when you go into each game, and I'm going to look at the way Walter Smith used to approach games, when you go into a game, a sport in any competition, if you go in there, I always go back to the boxing with Muhammad Ali getting into the ring with George Foreman. If you're going in there and this guy can absolutely smash you, you do not go in with a plan which is basically, I think I can take them head on, and I think Lee Johnson, regardless of the fact that he says he's got attacking players, I think the game plan should have been, okay, we've got attacking players, but we're going to play a 4-5-1 or a 5-4-1 and keep this really tight, and if we can pick them off, great, but if we lose the odd goal, but this was 5 for me going on 9. If Aston Villa had moved up through the gears, this could have been an absolute tanking.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I think there is a time when you've got to show the support that you have got, the technical knowledge, to play that game. And I know Tam's saying, yeah, they have got attacking players, but you've got to go into the game. I always think five goals at home is a lot, and it'd be okay. Brendan Rodgers used to say, well, we lost 5 goals, but at least we gave it a go and we entertained. Hibs have never done that. They never had any time of pressure on them or shots at goal or anything like that. So I disagree with Tam. I think if Livingston do beat them tomorrow, I think it's time somebody has to make a decision.
What do you think?
I like Lee Johnson, and I think he has got tactical awareness. Look at the Sunderland, Bristol City, which especially Bristol City done well with, so he obviously knows the game. Maybe he has set them up to, let's say, park the bus, use that phrase. Maybe players have not done it. Maybe I'm being very kind, but last season at times everybody thought he was going to lose his job after the Derby 2 or 3-0 game. Yep. Thought he was going to lose his job. There was a little bit of revolt in the dressing room and the board stuck by him. I just don't think he's got that consistency or momentum yet. So it's up to the board. Are they going to wait till he gets that to see how he does, or are they going to make a decision earlier? But I
don't think he's going anywhere, Lee.
There's something tells me if
I don't think he's going anywhere.
The result doesn't go on Saturday, and I might be wrong, but I think he'll still be in charge as well.
I'm slightly biased on this, Ruffy. I mean, I know Lee has offered a kind of more kind approach to Lee Johnson. I'm slightly biased. I want him to stay beyond the transfer window, possibly to January, because that allows us to keep Neil Lennon as a pundit for a wee bit longer. because the last thing I want is to say goodbye to Lenny after about 5 weeks, you know. And if he gets a job, then we're just going to have to, you know, it's going to have to dumb down the way. But I'm not having it. I just think now he's got from now into the transfer window where I think he needs additional players. Whether he gets them or not, I don't know. But if you're going to stick with him, you're going to have to back him. You're going to have to get him players. But the upshot of this all is, yet again, another club is out of European competition. So there's one down. Hearts hanging by a thread. Aberdeen getting in, hopefully seeing off Hacken with that great result they had.
Yeah, well, this moment in time, it doesn't look like 100%. We're going to get 100% through. We always thought 3 would be great, you know, but we'll have to wait and see how that pans out. By the way, I think they will win against Livingston tomorrow, you know, so I don't think he's in any problem. But he'll have a Hearts game coming up and a heavy defeat in one of these ones. I mean, you saw the support the other night. They were right behind the team. I mean, I know it was a certain segment who were just chanting that, but that shows you that they maybe accept as well that the vast difference. But I was saying to Tam earlier on, is he going to use that excuse tomorrow when he plays Livingston? Because Livingston don't have the same resources as Hibs.
Yeah,
Hearts game,
Hearts game 7th of October, Ruffy. That's a long, long way away.
He's lucky then.
Yeah,
he's lucky he's not got it. But as I'm saying that, we all know there's a vast difference in funny and the money circumstances and that. But imagine the Livingstons and the Ross Counties come out with that every week. We can't compete with them. We can't compete with them. They don't. The Malkies and all that just get on with it. Just go out and do it. You know. With
all due respect, though, quite a lot of people in Europe, and this is where I'm cutting them some slack on the Villa. Nobody expected them to beat Villa or even get a draw. Nobody tipped them. The whole of Europe is worried about how to compete with English Premier League because they are leaving them for dead. Only the elite clubs who are having to spend wisely and with vast amounts of money can compete with them because of the riches that every club has. Villa can outspend everybody in the Premier League in Scotland.
Oh, by a country mile. It's all comes down to money at the end of the day and budget, and then you're attracting better players. They've got some top players, and comparing them to Hibs are nowhere near them. But if you're in the Hibs camp, you've got to have a go. I believe you can get through. And the first leg's just no happen. So there is a gulf. But as Ruffy's saying, you don't get that every week when the teams are coming up against Rangers and Celtic. You don't get, well, no every week, but the gulf is massive, so they deserve to beat us. The manager needs to commit with a belief that they can take on Rangers and Celtic. Look at Hearts last season. They were saying to Robbie, we're expecting in the next year or two to be the team that's second.
Yeah.
So is that realistic? With the budgets, no, it's not. It's nowhere near realistic.
What was it like when you were sitting in an enclosed room of about 5 feet by 5 feet with Robbie, and the board said to Robbie, "We think you could be second"? Because he did say it in a press conference. And see, when he said it, I think I was at the press conference, and when he said it, I looked and I went,
"Who's this, Joe Savage?"
No, this is Robbie Nielsen.
Oh, Robbie said that?
They were expecting to go second, you know, to compete and split them, and I looked at him and I went, "Wow, you've lost it. You're mad."
You've lost it. Was his nose good?
Honestly, I looked at it and I said, it was like Lee John. I mean, honestly, the capital's great for managers at the moment. I'm looking, I'm saying, Robbie, there is not a catch chance in hell unless James Anderson has said to you, by the way, there's a big wedge coming here.
I think even if the board do that, it takes a couple of windows. It would take a couple of windows.
Yeah.
And with the revenue that Rangers and Celtic are getting, it's a one-off season. It's never going to be sustained that unless there's...
But Robbie's not going to sit there when somebody in the board says to him, "We expect you to be second." He's not going to say to them, "You're having a laugh."
No.
So this is the point.
He's not going to say...
No, you know what he does? He says to the board, "Okay then," and then he keeps it a secret between him and Lee. Don't tell the press. As soon as he said that, I'm like, no, this is not happening. One thing that was really good and really positive, and I watched the game on Thursday, was Hacken Aberdeen. They were 2-0 down, but Barry Robson, this team's got a bit of his character. They're battling away. I was delighted for Nicky Devlin. Great goal to get the equaliser. And suddenly they've got a real hope of getting group stage Europa League, Ruffy, and the money that it brings.
I think the only thing that's going to hold them back is having the mentality to win this game. They've seen it before with them. They've brought teams back, you know, and the pressure, and a lot of these players have never probably been in this position, you know, and they've got to handle the situation. The Aberdeen support are going to turn up expecting a win. The stadium's going to be full. That's what they have to handle. They have to handle the pressure of the night and what's at the end of it.
Yeah, well, I think Aberdeen are going to get through. Tam, do you share that?
Yes,
belief?
yeah. I've watched the game actually, and I thought they were unlucky not to win the game. I think they're a better team than Hacken, and they beat them 5-1 2 years ago with Glassy, Stephen Glass. So I think Aberdeen are strong favourites now.
Yeah. What about Hearts?
Hearts are out.
Yeah.
Hearts are out.
Okay. Lee,
Big call, Hearts,
big
big
call.
shout.
Yeah, he's got the metal studs in today. He's in that mold, whereas you've got that Mr. Nice Guy routine. But by the way, there was a moment, you know, when the curl. I wish that
what a
goal was
goal.
onside.
Shanks'
Shanks' goal is magnificent, isn't it?
That's what he does. I think they'll do well. I think, as you said a couple of weeks ago, they'll do well to keep a hold of him.
Yeah.
He's phenomenal. Real phenomenal football player, and it's not just goal scoring, it's hold up play.
Was he like that in
as
training?
well. Yes.
Did he work hard on keeping the ball in? Was that something that you emphasised to them?
Yep. He works hard in everything.
Yeah.
And actually, when you look at the distance he covers per game, he's a really, really hard working player for the team as well, which I think if you go back maybe 4 or 5 years, he wasn't as much of a team player at that. So he's always adding to his game, season by season. Going back to the Hearts, I thought they were good. I thought they were good at home against a good team. Shanks' goal, if that goes in, possibly a different game. They've lost the goal right after scoring the goal, the penalty.
Crazy tackle.
Aye, just a little bit of rush of blood to the head. But I think the biggest thing they'll find difficult going over there, I think they've got a chance, but is the heat. It'll be the heat over there, the intensity that they play at. They're good going forward.
Yeah.
So I think the centre halves are going to need to play better than what they played the other night. But again, going back to where Hibs haven't had the experience of playing there. Hearts had the experience last year of playing there for the bulk of the squad, for the away games and then coming back for the league games. So I think they've got a chance. Again, the first goal for me is massive in European football.
See, with the loss of Mackay, where are you going to play Lowry for that Hearts side? I think Lowry's a very good creative player who needs a run of games. Where does he fit in?
Well, they're playing a left back at centre midfield, in Alec Cochrane for the games, and Alex.
He's a waste out
is a
left
good
wide.
player.
Out wide
Lowry.
left. Lowry is a waste.
Yeah, well,
that's not what
he's
he
a
should be.
top player. He's talented. He's technical. He's got the final pass, which arguably the two sitting in midfield haven't got with Devlin and Cochrane. Maybe it's just the defensive side or the aggressive side for European football that he's not playing. And you've got Andy Halliday in the bench as well that can play in there. Peter Haring, I don't know how his fitness is. But yeah, there's a few players that can play in that position, and they play a left back in there. Obviously, they've got a half decent result, but I'm the same as you. It's a little bit of a strange one for me.
Yeah,
Depends what formation you play with Lowry. You couldn't, if you're playing Boyce and Shankland, I don't think you can play Lowry. If you played a 4-2-3-1, you can maybe play him off a striker.
Yeah.
4-4-2, I don't think you can play him in a 2 in the middle of the park. So I said that he's not the same player wide. He's not going to go by people and put crosses in. So I think he's maybe just an impact player at the minute, maybe to bring on.
Aye.
If you're needing a goal or do a wee bit of magic.
Okay, speak up then. I've got Aberdeen going into the Europa. I've got Rangers dropping into the Europa League, and I've got Celtic getting ready for the Champions League group stages. And we'll talk. Well, and Hibs are out.
Even if they score the first goal, didn't they?
Even if they score the first 3 goals, it'll be a 9-3 defeat down there. Is that good enough for you?
Goals.
Yeah. So, Ruffy,
Yeah,
are you agreeing with that?
I agree with most of that, yeah.
I just said that because I want to save us 2 minutes of bullshit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think Hearts will get beat 2-1 over there.
Right. Jig, 3 teams.
Rangers through. Big staunch. Here we go. You've got to believe it.
Listen, we're not knocking you for believing it. Fire on.
Hearts through.
No, are you
And I'm going Aberdeen through.
He's went full
I'm just going for it, aye.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't forget also.
And I actually really
Hibs.
believe that. I think Hibs. I think it's fair to say Hibs are out.
By the
Sorry
way,
for forgetting about Hibs.
if Lee had said Hibs were going through as well,
the door's over
there
there.
would have been drugs testing at the end of the show just to see if we were all on the same path. But nevertheless, domestic fixtures dominates again. Rangers up at Dingwall against Ross County. Ridvan won't make the squad. Tom Lawrence and Kemar Roof both travelled with the squad, Ruffy. He's mentioned that, you know, 2 players could be on their way out. And of course everybody's saying Hagi and Kamara, but good to get a couple of players back there.
Yeah, certainly, yeah, but he's obviously going to have to work out who he's going to leave out. You know, obviously some players will be carrying wee niggles here and there, and he won't want to take a chance with his bigger players. So it'll be interesting to see what the team selection is. I still think Rangers get far too much quality and depth, you know, to go up there and lose that game.
Okay, let's find out what the news is from the Rangers camp with Adam Binney.
I'm at the Rangers training centre this afternoon as the team bus is just being loaded before Rangers make their trip to Dingwall to face Ross County in the Scottish Premiership this weekend. And it's a big week because thereafter Rangers have got to go to Eindhoven on Wednesday to face PSV in the second leg of their Champions League qualifier. And then of course the first Old Firm derby of the season is next Sunday when they take on Celtic at Ibrox. But somewhere in between all of that, the transfer window will shut on the 1st of September. And when speaking to the manager, Michael Beale, at his press conference this afternoon, he suggested that Rangers might not be quite done yet.
I don't want to put any predictions on it. We're close to a couple maybe going out the way, and then we may respond depending if anything comes out of the ordinary. It's not often a Rangers manager can sit here and say that he's got all 25 or 26 outfield players fit and training, so that's a positive as well.
Rangers come into this one off the back of perhaps their most encouraging performance of the season after that 2-2 draw with PSV Eindhoven at Ibrox on Tuesday night. But they're not the only Scottish team that have been taking part in Europe this week. Hibs, Hearts and Aberdeen all participating in their respective European qualifiers. Now Michael Beale kept a close eye on each of those matches and encourages Scottish sides to support the others when it comes to European football.
In terms of Hearts last night as well, I thought they were involved in a fantastic game. That will go to the wire, and well done to Aberdeen as well, coming back from 2-0 down. He's sort of proud of what the teams are doing this year in Europe, and I think we've got to get behind each other.
Yeah, there's your manager backing all the Scottish clubs as well, which is refreshing to hear. Whether he shares the same view as us on the show, what about you? You can give us your thoughts on it. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. It's always good to get you to follow us. If you download the app, you'll get all the latest breaking news at your fingertips and all the unique video content. And thank you very much to so many people, Ruffy, who've been emailing us, dropping us little messages right, left and centre about the variety of programming that we're giving you, because we could have just managed to trudge out the same 5 days like many radio and TV stations, but we decided we'll go for variety and give them, you know, quite a different viewpoint, from the journalists to the one-to-ones to the women's football show, and of course to the football show with of course our new signings.
Yeah, I think the most important thing was them getting their heads around what we were doing, they were enjoying, but I'm sure what we are doing now they'll enjoy as much. It gives them a different variety. Listen to the sports writers, you know, which would be good in the women's football. So yeah, I think it's very good. And as you know, I've been about the festival in Edinburgh, and yeah, there's quite a lot of good remarks.
Yeah, good, excellent, Ruff. It's good to know that you're mixing with the upper classes and they're enjoying it too.
Networking,
that's exactly what it is. Ruffy,
Gin tent.
We've come a long way. I mean, Lee won't remember this, but we've come a long way from whenever we cracked a joke and you laughed, the whole studio moved.
Yeah.
Because that was that was the early days when we didn't quite have the luxury of here.
No, it's certainly, but it was good fun.
Yeah.
And the people we were doing were good.
Yeah,
I can't
absolutely.
remember what was his name at Come On. Well, we've not had a song off of Lee yet. We usually have some guests come on.
Song?
Oh yeah,
we've a lot of guests.
With a guy,
who come
Alex
on
Samuel,
nights,
who's still playing now, young boy, and he came on with a guitar and sang for us. And then we had Brian Prunty. He came on and sang The Gambler. Absolutely magnificent. You know,
have you sang? I wouldn't mind hearing you sing.
Bruce Springsteen, Dancing in the Dark, that's my song.
Is it?
well,
Good at that, by the way.
yeah.
Good at that.
Are you
I'm
good
Neil
at that?
Diamond.
I'll tell you who's also good. You tell me who's also good at Bruce Springsteen.
Coisty.
Yes.
The best I've seen.
Absolutely.
No pressure. he is unbelievable.
Yes, I've had a night out with him and listened to him sing it, by the way. And on that night out, we all had to sing. And I sang a really slow ballad, and he looked at me. What are you doing? It's a good party. You're getting us all good. What would you sing? What would be your song?
Neil Diamond, Forever in Blue Jeans.
Oh, I'm happy with that one, by the way.
Mr. Ruffy.
James Taylor, You've Got a Friend.
Aye, oh well, that's
Is
really...
that the Toy Story song?
Aye.
Yeah.
No, something like that.
Is it
The
in?
way he sings it.
All right, okay.
I would like to hear that.
The boy in Toy Story.
Woody?
No, like Woody.
Yeah.
No, like Woody.
Woody just rips it, by the way.
Right, okay. Well, let's see if we can get the James Taylor version. Ross County prediction? Predictors, by the way, is
Yes.
going to be good this.
No,
We're
I
going
think Rangers will get far too much money for Ross County to compete with them.
Too much money.
How many? What's the score?
2-0 Rangers.
2-0 Rangers. Lee?
2-0 Rangers.
3-1 Rangers.
Yeah, I think I've got 3-0 Rangers, so I think it's going to be a comprehensive one. Celtic St Johnstone. Brendan Rodgers, I think, admitting at this moment that Celtic are weaker than last season, and he's going to have to try and get himself a defender in quickly, an experienced one. He's suggested after Cameron, Carter-Vickers and Nawrocki are out for 2 months, and also Stephen Welsh as well on that injury list. So he's going to have to get someone in there. This is obviously what he had to say ahead of the match. The squad is not as strong. That's the reality. We've lost top players and we've got players out for a period of time. So I can't disagree with that comment. The point I will make is that we will work very, very hard here to try to improve the squad. There's a lot of work going on behind the scenes. Now, I'm gobsmacked by the whole situation because apart from anything else, and I can see a similar pattern opening up here, he's got a strong squad. He had a treble-winning squad at his disposal. They've slowly but surely lost some key players along the way, sold them, and now he's got injury worries where he's going to have to move quickly. And there hasn't been what I would call any real top-drawer signing walked in that door, Ruffy. I wonder what's going on.
No, I think they've obviously got that money in that you're talking about, particularly the 25 million, and they've still went down that road of identifying young international players for other countries and getting them in at a reasonable price, hoping that they're going to, kick on and bring in more money. But supporters being supporters will want it on the park. They'll want here now. They'll not be wanting, this guy could be 20 million in 3 years. So I think they're in a bit of a mess just now. I mean, you've just heard the Rangers manager saying he's got 25 fit players, all desperate to play. I don't think Celtic will get anywhere near that. And with the big games coming up, they'll have to act very, very quickly to sort that out.
Are you surprised by what's going on at the moment?
Yeah, I am, because I don't think Brendan Rodgers would have come back to the club if he was going to be signing guys at 2 and 3 million, no disrespect. I thought he was coming back to make an impact in the Champions League, have a big budget. I think a lot of people anticipated, a lot of Celtic fans anticipated Brendan coming back and having a big war chest, so to speak, in terms of going out and signing players. I think it's difficult for Celtic to sign players from English Premiership. We've seen it the other night, the gap, the wages. Pedence has been heavily linked to Wolves, but supposedly he's looking for 45, 50 grand a week. No way Celtic are going to pay that to any player. So going to English Championship, again, it's difficult to attract players from English Championship. They're on big money as well, so they're having to scour Europe, I think. But it might be France, Spain, places like that where you go and get a bit of value. But I think he looks a bit flat at the minute. We've already spoken about it. He looks a wee bit flat and down the dumps at the minute. Maybe he's been sold a kipper, I don't know, in terms of coming back to Celtic. But he needs to get backed, and he needs to get backed heavily in the next couple of weeks before this transfer window shuts. Because if Celtic go into the Champions League with this squad, they're going to get battered.
Yeah, and this is the squad that didn't do well in the Champions League. They might have played Ange Postecoglou's style of football, which is all well and good, but you get beat and you're out of the competition. And they were beaten by a number of sides that quite a lot of us here actually thought, Real Madrid apart, they were in positions where they could have maybe finished third in that group. They didn't do it. So he needed reinforcements. People are anticipating that Brendan Rodgers is back for a real tilt at maybe group stage Champions League, drop maybe into their Europa League, or at least get them into a knockout phase. There's no way you bring a manager of his calibre back and convince him it'd be great to win the league again.
I'm in agreement with the three years. I just find it strange at the moment. Before he come back, they're thinking he's not going to come back unless he's got a massive chest of money to spend. And to my knowledge, he's not signed a player yet, has he, of any note? Let's say, with no disrespect to any of them, but especially after the Kilmarnock result, I thought the first thing they'd have done is go out and get 1, 2 or 3, at least one, in to make a statement.
Sometimes David Murray used to sign a player to take the heat off what had been a miserable scoreline. You know, the Celtic and Rangers are great at doing things which are PR stints, where they've already got the player, but they hold it back and say, well, we had a really bad result here, let's take the heat off the Monday back page headline, and here's a new signing.
Yep.
That hasn't happened.
It's not happened, and it makes you scratch your head about what's actually happening, what the story is. Is there money there? There must be money there. So is it Brendan waiting on the right player to come in at the moment, or are they just not bringing any in? Do they need to wait till one goes out? I don't know.
The other thing, it goes back to the old question as well, who's identifying them? Did he identify any of the Japanese players that came in, or were they just on the rota? They're the next players we're bringing in?
I don't think that happens nowadays, Ruffy. And I'm not even going to throw a suggestion at you that maybe it's just a certain level of pundit, age group, generation. There are lots of clubs now who operate on the basis of, listen, we've got these players that are available. You've said to us that you need a midfielder, a left back and a centre half. This is what we can afford. Here they are. We've shown you the video of them. Boom. Get on with it. You're the coach. Coach that team now. If you're telling me that the days of, there are some managers who still do it, if you're telling me that they're going out to watch that player in action 2 or 3 times, it's not happening.
That's how they put their trust in the recruitment department, and arguably that's the role of the sporting director, so the sporting director will bring the players in knowing that he's going to be at the club for a sustained period of time. So if the manager changes, he brings in a manager with that same sort of style. So he's always thinking about who the next manager is going to be. So that's apparently the role of the sporting director. But there is a recruitment department in every football club that will go and identify 1 or 2 players for every position, and then if there's injuries, whatever it is, a bit of money becomes available, as Michael Beale's talking about, they'll be ready to pounce. That's my belief of how it works.
Yeah, well, and of course you're heading now into that familiar situation that Celtic fans were used to and were far from happy with a good few years ago, which is into the last week waiting for the last minute signings ahead of European games.
It didn't happen under Ange, that was the thing, Peter. It was Celtic's business was done early when Ange came in.
Yeah.
And now Ange is away, Brendan's come in, and it looks as if it's come back to, and Peter Lawwell was in, and it was scraping about in the last day of the window, trying to get 2 or 3 players in. And it's amazing how many deals get right down to the last day. I know it's difficult to get players out and in, but Celtic should be doing their business now. They shouldn't be waiting to the last day or 2.
Yep. St Johnstone. Okay, they haven't got a result. I don't think they're going to get one this weekend. Celtic will be happy they're playing St Johnstone. I've got it 4-0 Celtic.
Yep, I said earlier to Tam, Celtic could play Maeda and Abada in there at centre half, and Celtic will still win.
Okay, it's not something I think Stephen McLean wants to hear, but they haven't had a win since Tommy Wright back in 2015. That tells you how long it is. He's made a few signings, the odd loan one here and there, which is, for Stephen McLean, it's difficult because he's operating at a totally different level, trying to get St Johnstone away yet again from what everybody believes is going to be a relegation dogfight.
I fear for them, I really do. And you go back to St Johnstone to going to play Celtic, to Hibs playing Aston Villa. Is it the same sort of gap, or is it a bigger or smaller gap? I think they need a couple of players in St Johnstone. They need to freshen it up. I fear for them this season. Steve McLean done ever so well at the end of last season, but I think he'll be finding out what it's actually like to sit in that seat. I really hope he does well, young manager. But I feel it's a difficult game for him tomorrow.
What scoreline have you got?
5-1.
5-1. And by the way, that's him being kind. because he's in a good mood today.
The one's a penalty.
I think Celtic will bounce back in a big way, and I'll go for 6-0.
6-0. Have
You
put
just
that in
said
your
that because
predictor?
I went 5-1.
Have you put it in the predictor?
Oh yeah.
No, yeah. Well, that's
I like
fantastic.
changing it.
There are people.
You're wanting clicks.
No,
I'm saying 6-0.
There are
Do you want me to say 2-0 like Ruffy?
There are people out there who are actually going, I hope he's put that in the predictor. That's fantastic. Okay, Hibs against Livingston. Let's hear. I mean, he's going to win. If there is an award that's going to be handed out at the end of the season for manager who entertained the most in a pre and post match press conference, then Lee Johnson wins it hands down. Here's Patrick Mullen at the training centre.
I'm here at the Hibernian training centre this afternoon speaking to Lee Johnson ahead of his side's fixture against Livingston tomorrow. Hibs are still without that first league win of the season, but Lee Johnson insists his players are desperate for that first victory.
Listen, we want it desperately, and you know we are a good side. Like, I've got no fears in us over the course of the season competing exactly where you and everybody else expects us to compete and where we expect us to compete. But it's a new season still. You know, like I said, we're 4 weeks into it, and we want that win. We want that first win.
Just 2 nights ago, Hibernian were defeated by Aston Villa 5-0 in the Europa Conference League. Lee Johnson insisted, though, today that playing in Europe will always be absolutely worth it.
No, it's absolutely worth it. I promise you, it's worth it, because this is about building the club out. This is about being tested, being stretched. You know, I talk about purposeful practice. You drove your car in today, and you know you're in autopilot. I stick you in a Formula One race. You know, you're going to. This is different, and that's the equivalent of playing these high-level, high-intensity matches.
Yeah, desperately hoping they can get a win, bouncing back, not letting the hammering from Aston Villa affect them. That's the key to it all.
Yeah, I think it is. Listen, defeats like that can harm your confidence. I think, but if it was a Celtic or Rangers, maybe a bit more. But Aston Villa, I think that they realise that they're completely out of their depth. I think they can just put that to the side, you know, freshen the players up and get ready for a big game against Livingston. I'd fancy Hibs to beat Livingston, to be honest, at home. I think Hibs have got goals in them. Obviously, didn't show that the other night against a real quality team, but I think they will tomorrow against Livingston. And I think Hibs and Lee will get his first victory, and he will go out of there feeling as if he's in a Ferrari.
Yeah, I mean, I must admit he comes up with just a golden nugget every week.
Good is he?
Yeah, absolutely. But I think 1-0 narrow win.
2-1 to Hibs.
Ruffy?
No, 2-0 Hibs. They've got to keep that support on board. You saw them in midweek there; they were jubilant just because they were there. But I think they have to win.
Hibs need to score first, by the way, because it's going to be
2-0.
horrible if they don't.
2-0.
2-1.
2-1, okay.
Hibs.
Yeah, I'm glad you clarified that, because it was a bit dodgy. Of course, one little footnote to David Martindale is the fact that game against Rangers, you know, every penny counts for him now.
Oh, we've seen it. Every interview he goes into, it'll be a breath of fresh air. He's trying to sell the big boy, and that's not happened. So that was $1 million. So he'll get, I think, something like 250,000 out of the Rangers game. That could be a couple of players, maybe 3 players for him.
Yeah, hopefully. For the benefit of some of the younger team, the big boy he means is Joe Midley. That's when Ruffy. If he can't pronounce a player, if he can't pronounce a player's name, he'll just say the big boy that plays up front. So there you have it in a nutshell. Motherwell against Kilmarnock, and I must admit, I'm absolutely gutted for Stuart Kettlewell, because he's lost 2 key players, one of them with a bad challenge. So Mika Bireth and John Abika are going to be out for a wee while, and that is a blow. Let's hear what the Motherwell manager has to say today on the game coming up.
This weekend, Stuart Kettlewell's side will take on Kilmarnock here at Fir Park. However, the Motherwell side will be a striker down. Arsenal loanee Mika Bireth suffered a knee injury that will leave him on the sidelines for at least 3 months during their game against St Mirren last weekend. Now having time to reflect on the incident, the Motherwell boss Stuart Kettlewell still hasn't changed his opinion.
In the modern game, if one of my players made that challenge, then I would expect him to receive a red card. I'd be surprised if he didn't. I really would be surprised if he didn't. So I need to park it. And I've always said this, not to try and drag it on for days and days and days. The fact of the matter is I'm missing a striker that I was really excited about, the club was really excited about, and we're missing him for a substantial period of time. I understand that Charles Dunn's reached out and apologised for, you know, the outcome of the challenge and all that sort of stuff. So I tip my cap to him and say fair play in that sense. But, you know, it doesn't change the situation that it leaves us short on the front end of the park, which is the overriding fact from a player that's come in from a big club that they were looking to try and see if he could hit the ground running and go and make strides in his career.
But the main objective for the Steelmen this season is not to find themselves in a similar position as they did last term, something Kettlewell feels Derek McInnes will share an opinion on.
I think it's two teams that again sit with a pretty positive mindset and that are in a relatively good place. So I would hope that everyone will see a decent contest and two clubs that are trying to ideally take themselves out of the position that they found themselves in last season, trying to pitch beyond that sort of languishing bottom end of the table and trying to see if we can sort of progress a few places from maybe where we found ourselves last season. I know it ended up pretty good for us in the end, finishing 7th, but I'm sure Derek's mindset will be that he wants a little bit more than you know, being involved in that relegation battle, if you like, and I'm fairly certain on Saturday you'll see that from both sides.
Premiership action returns this weekend. Motherwell will host Kelly here at Fir Park. Kick-off is at 3 o'clock.
Yeah, looking forward to that one. Of course, Charles Dunn, fair play to him. He's phoned up and apologised to the player because, you know, if Arsenal are looking at this and are thinking, you know, just gone up to a bunch of cloggers, you're out for 3 months, 2 games in.
Yeah, I understand why Stuart's upset. I think that the graft that's probably into that, you try and get a relationship, Leo will know better than me, you know, you try and get a relationship with these big clubs that they'll give you a loan of their promising young players. You know, they've got him up. He was excellent in his debut, came on against Hibs and scored one, set up one. And then just when you think, Motherwell, we've got a player here, he gets crocked. I don't think it was a particularly bad tackle. I just think it was awkward. I think he slipped, and I think his standing legs kind of twisted and his knees kind of, maybe he's tore his ligaments or whatever, but it's disappointing for Motherwell, and they've just got to go on with it. But, you know, they're going to a big game against Kilmarnock, who started well. I can't split them. I'm going to go for one each in this game. I think Kelly can keep their unbeaten run going.
The problem is at the bottom end or even the mid-table clubs, you cannot suffer, you know, injuries to key players. One, maybe you can ride the storm. 2 key players that you would consider starters, then you're in a bit of bother.
Injury, suspension, it's the 2 big things that can see for him dip. And but I think it's going to be a great game tomorrow. I'm going to go one each as well. I think it's 2 form teams, started the season relatively well, Kilmarnock especially, and the Kilmarnock seem to have this bit behind them, the togetherness, and I think with the way Stuart's talking there, he's elaborating on the point, maybe a little bit too much for me. What about the players that are going to come in and play in his position? So I think it'll be close, but I think I'm going to go for one each.
Well, one each suggests that both these guys are looking at the form of Kilmarnock, and even the Killie boss Derek McInnes knows he's got a better team this season.
So I quite like the team that we're becoming, and that has to be, the work rate has to be maintained for that to continue. So whether people view us a bit differently, I certainly view us a bit differently than we were last season, but it is only a start and we have to try and continue that work.
Can they continue with the win? I've got 2-2, Ruffy. I'm draws all round here.
You can't take any away from the Rangers in the Celtic game and the draw against Hearts. What he'll be saying to his players are, like, away from home, we never won many games. That this is a start, we need to go and win it. I don't know why, I'm going to go for Motherwell.
Yeah, Motherwell to win?
2-1.
Okay, there you are. That's the good thing about it. There's a wee bit of a difference going on here.
He's naked, didn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. He's
usually.
Well, but no, do you know why? Because I think
usually. I think it's a one each or 2-0.
But do you know what's happened? What's happened this season is we brought a couple of people in who are known for kind of spoilers. They're spoilers. I mean, Lee was an absolute fantastic spoiler. Didn't let other players play and then brought out the best in you. You had to raise your game. Lenny's the same, sits next to him, and then Lenny just occasionally just gives him a wee dig as if to say So I think there's an edge to it.
He's up to his game.
That's an edge.
I think there's an edge. Yeah. I a lot of people have commented to me, 10 years of just nammy-pammy rubbish, and now there's an edge to him. So that's fantastic. Let's see if it continues. Dundee against Hearts on this Sunday. The fallout from it, you mentioned it last time. Can you suddenly, come off that game and then with the downside of losing it, pick yourself up because of the rigours of it? You found it tough last season.
Found it tough last season, yes, with the travelling, but no, I think credit to the board. They were chartering a private jet thing just for the team, and it was unbelievable. So the excuses are getting less and less loud. Let's put it that way. They're going into a game at the weekend at Dundee away, which they're expected to win. If they don't pick up 3 points there, the fans obviously won't be happy. So that's where the pressure starts coming in. Dundee away, I think, is a little bit kinder. I think they could have had a worse game coming up, but I think they'll comfortably with the squad they've got, with the bench they had the other night. I think they'll have too much for Dundee.
Yeah, we should run a competition where we get you to guess which one of the three managers at Hearts are going to speak in the press conference. Today it's Frankie McAvoy.
And there was some pleasing moments. If I'm honest, we know what we've got to do now. We need to go there and win the game. I believe that's possible for us to do that. And that's what we've got to try and look forward to in the next round.
Yeah, absolutely. A big job to do in Europe, and then a big job against Dundee. I've got them to edge it 2-1.
I've got them to edge it as well. Dundee are one of my teams. I think it'll be a long, hard season for them and St Johnstone. We'll have to wait and see. Tomorrow's result, might disprove what I'm thinking. They need to win it, but I think Hearts will win it 2-1.
Lee?
1-0.
1-0 to Hearts, okay.
Yes.
We haven't seen that much of Dundee. I think we're going to have to see a few games when we're out and about. What are you going for?
2-1. Dundee.
I think we need to go and see Dundee on a couple of occasions.
Dundee 1-2-1?
Yes, Dundee for me.
Oh, right.
2-1 to
yeah,
Dundee.
Dundee, yep.
Yeah. Well, is that because of the fallout from Hearts and then...
I just think it's going to be... I think Dundee have got tons of energy in their team. They've been well rested. I think Hearts will be a bit jaded. One eye on next Thursday. I think Dundee can... the home fans behind them can get a 2-1 victory.
Okay, roll on with that. Are you speaking in Dundee this week?
No.
Okay. Just had to check. The other thing I was going to say, do you not think I think in the next couple of weeks I like to go out and see a team in the flesh to see exactly the way. I think we need to get a grasp of that. There's no point in asking Ruffy because there's still some festival shows that he's got to see. But as far as, I think you get a better appreciation if you see teams in the flesh.
So I'm going to go to the Motherwell game tomorrow, I think,
yeah.
and just take it in and see how they're playing. It's our sort of team.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we are. And
your second team.
Over and above that, by the way, you'll also see us supporting Scottish football. Is that fair, Ruffy?
Yes,
down there. So,
so you'll be paying in then, Peter?
No, we're talking about the boards.
We're
supporting our team.
Cool.
Behind the goals.
Yes. Fantastic. So you'll see. We actually don't know who you support. You've got
take this all through and through.
Even though the binge.
Don't listen to
Exactly. St Mirren against Aberdeen. I've got Aberdeen to edge it, but it could be they've come back from Sweden and they're a wee bit jaded, but I'm not buying into any of that nonsense. Players love to play football, and although Stephen Robinson's had a good start to the season, I think Aberdeen look as if they could be half decent this season. I hope he gets another 2 or 3
that's
players.
What I'm saying. We can't keep saying, "Oh, this is going to be a half decent season." This is the games. If they go and win it, you're going to say they are going to have a decent season. But I think St Mirren are playing particularly well now, particularly at home. And I can't divide them. I'm going to sit in the fence and go 1 each.
Yeah, Aberdeen have fairly, been busy in the transfer market. I mean, I like Jamie McGrath. I think that's a good signing for them.
Very good signing, and Devlin as well at right back. Good, really good player. So that I think they've done well. The recruiting is went pretty well. Coming back on the Thursday to play St Mirren away. I think St Mirren's going to win that 2-0.
St Mirren to beat Aberdeen 2-0.
I fancy St Mirren as well.
Yeah?
I think Aberdeen. I've got I've got a £7-8 million game coming up on Thursday. He's not going to play his full team, in my opinion, and I think St Mirren will take them 2-1.
It's a fantastic show today, Ruffy. Everybody's disagreeing. We're going from one erratic scoreline to the next.
Yeah, but the proof in the pudding is when the prediction scores come up on that screen.
Yes, it is. Of course,
you said 2, I said 1 each.
The other thing about it, as Lee mentioned earlier, is maybe Stuart Kettlewell is kind of a dragged on the tackle between Charles Dunn and Beereth, but St Mirren boss Stephen Robinson's dragging it on as well. He's obviously hit back, even though he knows that Motherwell have lost a player for 3 months.
Listen, I spoke to Stuart after the game. I've no issue. I know Charles. We've seen the footage back. Stuart was obviously annoyed. He's lost one of his best players. There's absolutely no malice. He's got the ball and slipped with his back leg. We had a similar incident with Jonah Ayunga against Motherwell, where Jonah ends up being out 9 months, and these things happen in football, unfortunately, without any kind of malice or any kind of intent.
Okay, we're giving you our predictions for all 6 games in the Scottish Premiership. If you want to join us, then why not get involved in the Predictor? You can join in any month whatsoever, and you could win yourself some prizes. On Monday, we will indeed look at the table and see where we're all placed. And then at the end of each month, we'll give the leader in the Predictor a prize. And then at the end of the season, the overall winner will get a chance to come with her pal to us to the PFA Player of the Year Awards, and that should be a good night out. All expenses paid, Ruffy. Doesn't get any better than that, does it?
Well, it's a great night, and if you get a good table, it makes it even better.
Yeah.
Sometimes
we've had a good table.
Sometimes we've had a couple of guests that have just let themselves go.
Yeah, absolutely. Still, enough about Gary Harkins and Chris Miller. Let's crack on. I like Big Gaz and Chris, but boy, they could take a right good scoop. Anyway, hopefully you can get involved, and it's always good. We're going to get Lee's predictions as well. Everybody's in it. Kerry's in it, Adam's in it, Patrick's in it. They're all in it this year.
And there's no excuses now, because they were slagging us last season, saying, I could do better than you. Well, with proof will be in the pudding.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see where they all end up. It's good stuff. Ruffy, the couple of things I want to get your thoughts on. Kieran Tierney, totally excluded from the Arsenal squad. In the end, loan deal at Real Sociedad. There was real talk about them coming back to Celtic from some real ardent Celtic fans, but at 120 grand a week, I don't think Kieran Tierney had a catch chance in hell of heading back to Parkhead.
No, I agree with you there, but I think it'll be disappointing for him. I think the manager actually came out and actually said he's still got a place, and somebody tells you that, as long as it's no media talk, he's actually telling you visibly that you're part of the plans, you'll go along with it, but certainly things have probably moved on for them. Obviously, Kieran doesn't think that is the case, so he's got to be playing. We need him to be playing. We need him to be playing for the Scotland team.
Yeah, absolutely. Other news that I want to get your thoughts on before we look at the English Premier League and say farewell. I think, being a Liverpool fan and watching them on more than a few occasions, I think if Mo Salah leaves for Saudi Arabia, all hell will let loose. Yeah, and that's the Liverpool fans. The Liverpool fans have just changed. There's full time whistle.
Yeah, wrap it up, son.
Absolutely. I wonder whose phone that is. It's got a. But the last thing they want to do is see him move anywhere.
Well, he's the new god down there. Again, money talks, doesn't it? If his head gets turned, then Liverpool will probably need to sell, and it goes back to that recruitment one, who's coming in to replace him right away, because they're probably going to need to be looking right now. If he goes, we need to be bringing somebody in, and it's that recruitment process we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, I don't think Jurgen Klopp wants to lose Mo Salah.
No, I don't. No, my life philosophy, or one part of my life, is I think about the problem when I have it. It's enough time then, because there is absolutely nothing in the moment. So when if there's something coming up that I don't think or I don't know, then I can think about that. But I said already, it's if there would be something, it would be a no.
Yeah, and Liverpool fans will be hoping they can say no for as long as possible. What about the fixtures that you can look forward to down south in the English Premier League? There it is. Chelsea against Luton Town, Bournemouth, Tottenham, Arsenal against Fulham, Brentford, Crystal Palace, Everton against Wolves, Manchester United, Nottingham Forest, Brighton take on West Ham, it's Burnley against Villa, Sheffield United against Manchester City, and Newcastle Liverpool brings back memories of Collymore and that winner, that unbelievable night when they provided us with a sensational game. Will we have a goals fest in that one? Only time will tell. Just before we go, I have to say, if you're talking about players that can make an impact, we are worrying about whether people are going to be watching the Saudi Arabian League because of the big players that are playing there. Right now there seems to be a huge interest in the MLS because Lionel Messi is tearing it up there.
Certainly is, and obviously David Beckham taking him to Miami was a fantastic move. I mean, I think if we saw, I mean, a long time ago since I've been in America, but Miami is a catchment area for so many nationalities. He picked the right place, he picked the right stadium, the environment, and now they're selling it about. I think the whole of America is going to want to see him. We all wanted to see him. We all wanted to see him in England with somebody. It never happened. So, fortunately for us, Americans are getting it.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people watching the MLS, now that it's starting back to the league campaign, he's delivered the League Cup. Inter Miami are bottom of the MLS. I don't think they'll end up bottom when this whole campaign's finished.
No, I think he's an unbelievable football player, and that's what he brings. He puts bums on seats in the stadiums, and you'd imagine he's risen the profile of the MLS already with his arrival over there. And with Ruffy, what a place to go and play and stay and play your football. And whatever age he is, what is he, 34, 35, no, maybe even 36. He's still producing, and he's a wonder to watch.
I'll tell you, still not scored as many goals as me in the MLS. He scored 5, I scored 6.
He's still a bit to go then, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely.
A wee bit to go.
He scored 10 goals in 8 matches for Inter Miami. I think I can give you the exact.
That's League Cup. That's not League game.
Oh, that's right.
Stop telling porcupines.
Absolutely. I think he's doing.
MLS big league.
I think he's doing okay.
Crappy cup.
Let's not put a bet on how many he scores in relation to you. Just before we go on it though, the one great thing about it, when you get teams that play well, when they go away to away grounds, it's £2,000 a ticket for some places for the fans to go and see Messi.
Yeah, I think, as Ruffy says, everybody wants to see probably one of, if not the greatest player that's ever played. They want to see him in action, and into Miami, they're no daft. They're paying him a fortune, but they're going to make that back and more with sponsorships and shirt sales and stuff like that. So. No, I seen him the other night actually come on and stuck one in the boy's head in the last minute. He's what a player still, and great to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't forget, if you want all the latest football news, not only here in the UK, European football, world football, then it's all at your fingertips. You can download the PLZ Soccer app and get all the news on the website as well. We've got unique video content on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. Tomorrow morning, we're bringing you our Saturday preview show with Kerry Pollock. Ruffy and Tam are there. The big quiz, who wins at it, we'll find out tomorrow morning. The show drops at 9 o'clock. And then, of course, with the full-time results, I'll be here with Tam. And we'll be keeping you right up to date with all the games, the goals that hit the back of the net. Half-time, full-time reports on the Saturday live on YouTube, so you can interact with myself and Tam. And let's not forget also Straight Talk back next week. The Journo show is very well received. I hope you like the variety of the entertainment we're providing for you, wish you could say it, providing for you on our YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe button and you'll get to hear the comments of Tam, Ruffy and Lee McCulloch on a regular basis. Enjoy your football over the weekend. Join the football family. Hit the subscribe button and I'll see you on Monday. Thanks for watching.